Greetings. I am Ambassador Ruben Brigady, Dean of the George Washington University Elliott School of International Affairs. Good evening, class of 2020, and welcome to all of you watching. Thank you for being here to help celebrate the achievement of our graduates today under these unprecedented circumstances. I like to start out my remarks each year by reminding the graduates to thank the people who made this moment, their moment, possible. The parents in particular, but also the grandparents, spouses, children, friends, and relatives of the graduates. Without your support, they might not be here. Today is your day too, a day to relish the shared feeling of pride in what your graduate has accomplished and the opportunities that lay before them. This year, I think it important that we also remember to thank those in our community who have strived over the past months to help us all maintain some normalcy. Those who helped us to keep on learning from a distance, to keep us safe, to keep us fed, and to keep us healthy. Our teachers, professors, frontline healthcare workers, the folks showing up to deliver packages, restock the shelves, clean our dorms, our hospitals, our schools. Let's give a shout out to those important individuals today as well. I would like you to remember that this pandemic has taught us all to look beyond our own experiences and to empathize with what others are going through as well. This trait is an essential component of leadership, and if you learn it now, I promise it will serve you well in your future. I know many of you may be feeling a sense of disappointment. This is not what you expected. Those of you who did not get to do your capstone research abroad, those of you who worked hard to earn a fellowship only to have it put on hold or canceled, those of you who expected to stand shoulder to shoulder with your friends and peers in cap and gown. The damage, loss, and grief you feel is real. It is not fair. You did not ask for this. And yet, our nation and our community are asking something of you. Members of the class of 2020, let me offer a few thoughts that I hope you will carry with you in the days to come. The times we are living through today are extraordinary, but so were the times of the generations that came before you. Your great-grandparents had their lives and dreams interrupted or permanently altered by the Great Depression and World War II. Your grandparents struggled with the meaning of patriotism and service as they and their peers fought in or protested against the war in Vietnam. Many of you are too young to remember much about 9/11, but for my generation, it was our watershed moment when nothing would ever be the same again. Many of my friends fought in combat zones or delivered humanitarian assistance from Afghanistan to Iraq. In so doing, some of them, soldiers and aid workers alike, made the ultimate sacrifice. Those generations rose to the tremendous challenge of their day, and in this global crisis, so will you. The months ahead will require each of us to demonstrate even more flexibility, compassion, and resolve, and I know you can do it. At the Elliott School, we teach our students to be resilient in the face of adversity, adaptable in the face of challenge, and innovative as they imagine the future. What you do as a result of this experience matters. We may not return to the status quo as we knew it when this is over. Your generation has the chance to rethink the world, and that is what we are asking of you now as you embark upon your future. Go out and make a difference. Do it with the passion and energy I've witnessed during our time together at the Elliott School. As we gather together, know that no matter what next step you take, you are never alone. As part of our global family, today you join a dynamic network of more than 25,000 Elliott School alumni working in some 100 countries to make a positive difference. I am so proud of the work our alumni are doing to shape a more just and peaceful world. Like you, I will soon embark on a new path as Vice Chancellor and President of Sewanee, the University of the South. As I prepare for this next step, I realize how much stronger and wiser I am for the time I've spent with you. This year especially, you were tested and you showed your mettle. Thank you for supporting each other in the face of unforeseen circumstances and for your amazing resilience and grace under pressure. Together, we are united by your vision of a better world for all. Now raise high, class of 2020.
How say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' bright glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home brave?
It is now my pleasure to introduce your 2020 student speaker, Sarah Nugent. Sarah is a candidate for a Master of Arts degree in International Affairs with a concentration in security policy. For 10 years, she has worked in public diplomacy while implementing the State Department's flagship professional exchange program, the International Visitor Leadership Program, or the IVLP. She moved to Washington to start her master's program at the Elliott School part-time and worked full-time managing the IVLP at the national level at the Institute for International Education. During her time here, she has also started as an IVLP program officer at the State Department. Sarah is this year's recipient of the Edward Skip Ganeem Leadership, Ethics, and Practice Prize, which is awarded to a student who has demonstrated true leadership and ethical thinking during their time at GW. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Sarah Nugent.
Dean Brigady, Elliott School faculty and staff, family, friends, and the Elliott School of International Affairs graduate class of 2020. Well, here we are. I know when we started at the Elliott School, none of us imagined our graduation would be quite this way. Although we're here to celebrate our achievements at a time that feels unnatural to express such joy, it's still important to acknowledge this benchmark in our lives and all that we've accomplished. But I also want to talk about tough things. We are certainly in a tough thing right now, a tough thing that feels relentless and endless, terrifying and daunting. The current issues in the world can feel insurmountable, but, and this isn't some cheesy line uttered at every graduation, I genuinely believe that there is no one better prepared to take on these tough things than an Elliott School student. Truly. Elliott students are inherently drawn to finding solutions to the world's tough things. Those who choose a career path in international affairs don't choose it because it's easy. You choose it because you're driven to change things for the better. Elliott students adapt. In the last few months of your graduate career, while navigating a global pandemic, you've seen your capstone research trips canceled, classes moved to online platforms, and strategize how to do group projects remotely. Elliott students are tenacious. You fought hard to be accepted into the Elliott School of International Affairs, to get that perfect internship, to land that dream job. You've stayed late into the night doing research and writing. You navigated the grind of Washington, D.C. Our time at the Elliott School has prepared us to address the most pressing issues in the world. alleviating global poverty, ending corruption, countering terrorism, combating human trafficking, addressing climate change, assisting refugees, strengthening cybersecurity, and yes, fighting on the front lines of global health threats. These are not simple issues, and they do not have simple resolutions. Still, even with the abundance of global challenges, it's hard to not be an optimist. Think about your peers and colleagues that you're graduating with, the ones you share classes, discussions, papers, and projects with. You all know very well what tough things lie ahead. And yet you're jumping right in. You can't help feeling hopeful for a future with compassionate, ethical, energized leaders like yourselves leading the charge. There is an innate empathy within all of you that drew you into international relations, and the Elliott School gave you the tools to start working on the world's challenges. Use those tools for fixing the tough things ahead. So wash your hands, be kind to one another, and continue to charge ahead into those tough things. We are certainly going to need you. Thank you, and congratulations again to the graduating class of 2020. I now have the honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Ambassador Nicholas Burns. Ambassador Burns is the Goodman Professor of the Practice of Diplomacy and International Relations at the Harvard Kennedy School and the Faculty Chair for several projects at the school's Belfer Center for Science and International Affairs. In addition, Ambassador Burns holds leadership positions within several important organizations, including the Aspen Strategy Group and Aspen Security Forum, the Cohen Group, and Our Generation Speaks. Ambassador Burns served for 27 years in the United States government as a career Foreign Service officer. His distinguished service includes his work as Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs, Ambassador to NATO and Greece, and as State Department spokesperson. He was also part of Secretary John Kerry's Foreign Policy Advisory Board and served on the National Security Council. And so, it is my great pleasure to now invite Ambassador Burns to share his thoughts on this momentous day. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen and graduates. I know this isn't how you wanted to end your academic career at the Elliott School, with your dean and me sending you off into the future with a taped virtual one-dimensional video ceremony. Long ago, in the pre-coronavirus world of March 1st, 2020, you probably imagined your graduation, a beautiful, warm DC afternoon, your class together one last time, your parents, siblings, significant others, friends in attendance, as you experience one of the great ceremonies in American life, your commencement, your launch into the future with a burst of collective energy, hope, and optimism. Graduations, however, can be bittersweet, and yours is uniquely so. You may not have the classical memories each of your predecessor Elliott School graduation classes accepted as a right, but you will have a measure of solace they did not. There is no chance you will ever forget this unique moment when the COVID-19 pandemic smashed into our world like a meteor in March and April. It changed our lives in ways we never thought possible. That's one of the reasons I'm truly honored to speak to you today about the meaning of what we've experienced, the meaning for you personally and for your class collectively. I want first, however, to give thanks to your dynamic dean, your leader, Reuben Brigady, for all he has done for your school and for our country as an American ambassador. If we were all together, I'd ask you to rise and give it up for Reuben. And so let us all just thank him and congratulate him for becoming Vice Chancellor at Sewanee, the University of the South. What have you and we learned about our world, about each of the many nations represented in this beautiful global kaleidoscope of a class during this landmark and tumultuous year? We've learned that yours is the first generation in global history where the fate of everyone, all 7.7 billion in 195 nation states, is truly linked as never before. That is what the coronavirus and the extraordinary economic collapse have taught us this spring. In January, we watched with deep sympathy as the people of Wuhan struggled to contain the contagion. In February, we lamented the cruel impact of the virus on the people of Iran. In March, the world cried over the avalanche of death, so tragic, in Italy and Spain. And when the coronavirus hit hard in April in New York, New Jersey, Michigan, Louisiana, my home state of Massachusetts, and in every corner of the United States, we saw heroes emerge. Doctors and nurses, orderlies, custodial staff, and first responders, they answered the call. They pointed themselves into the storm on behalf of all of us. As we meet this afternoon, the pandemic continues to race around the world, in Brazil and South Africa, in Mexico and Indonesia, in India and Mozambique. The cruelty of this virus is that it hits the poor hardest in the United States and in every other country of the world. We've also learned, however, that some governments reacted quickly. They rose to the challenge by locking down their populations while being guided by data and public health experts. South Korea, Singapore, Taiwan, New Zealand, Australia, Israel, Germany, Denmark, Austria are all in this group. Nearly all are democracies, and a number, by the way, are led by women. We've learned that authoritarian governments in China, Russia, and North Korea refuse to provide accurate information to their own citizens, much less the rest of the world, and refuse to admit that they might have erred in any way. In Europe, walls were raised between countries for the first time in generations as the nation-state reemerged, and the European Union seemed, at least for a time, as a mere bystander. And here in the United States, we learned a bitter lesson: how unprepared we were for the speed and the ferocity of the virus, how the federal government must be much better prepared the next time when another pandemic hits, more competent, more organized, more consistent in its leadership, more honest in its assessments. We've learned that we need a stronger social safety net for the poor and middle class in America, that health care is a right for every citizen in our country, and that we need leaders who will put science and the country first. When global collaboration was needed to combat the pandemic and to stem the recession, however, we saw the two strongest global powers, China and the United States, fight a war of words instead over who is most responsible for the virus itself. We saw a nearly inert G20 and G7 and United Nations Security Council. There was simply too little international coordination, collaboration, and cooperation, too little selfless and effective global action. If we choose not to work together to combat the coronavirus, how in the world in future years will we combat climate change effectively, or global human trafficking organizations, or crime and narcotics cartels, and all the other threats that we're going to face? This is some of what we've learned during the first 5 months of 2020. And this brings the conversation back to you, your amazing global and multinational, multi-ethnic, and multi-religious Elliott School class of 2020. You're about to go out onto the front lines of the United States government and governments around the world, to help our societies recover, to help our societies heal, and to recover from the shock of what we've all experienced individually. You have one challenge: lead us forward. Rebuild, renew, and restore the world, and give us hope for the future. His Holiness Pope Francis spoke at the height of the disaster in Italy in late March to this fundamental challenge of how we unite a divided world in a time of pandemic. Here's what he said: "We've realized that we're on the same boat, all of us fragile and disoriented, but at the same time important and needed. All of us called to row together, each of us in need of comforting the other." Pope Francis was right in this critical insight. We're all on the same boat now, in ways both literal and metaphorical. We're on the same boat on climate change. We're on the same boat in the economic crisis that's affected every village, city, and country in the world. We're in the same boat in the fight against cyber hackers and terrorists. We're on the same boat in the fight against income inequality, racial injustice, and human rights violations. The coronavirus has changed the world in many ways forever. The defining lesson for the decades ahead is this: countries that go it alone, build walls to keep their neighbors out, and succumb to narrow nationalism cannot possibly succeed for their citizens in the networked world of your future. We Americans have a special responsibility, given our power in the world, to be responsible in its use. Great nations do not pull away from global leadership. Instead, we need to recall what made us truly great over the last 7 decades: our openness to immigrants and refugees, our faith in the power of our alliances, NATO and our East Asian alliances, the fact that we've stood up countless times for democracy and human freedom, the fact we've organized the world so well through freedom of trade. Your generation will struggle, as did ours, with the inevitable competition among nations for power and influence and resources and geopolitical position. While you are right to try, you likely won't succeed, as we did not, in banishing all conflicts, stopping all wars, and eliminating justice from human history. But you can, at the very least, convince China and the United States, India and Pakistan, Israel and Iran, conservatives and liberals, communists and Democrats, to acknowledge one essential point about the world going forward, and that is our common humanity. On the big existential issues that pose a threat to us, we're all on the same boat now. We all thus must pull on the same oar. Your generation will confront many tests in the future. Here are 2 that are most immediate and most vital. First, find a way across the national, religious, and ideological dividing lines to unite people, to defend against these extraordinary threats that have a big impact on the future of our life on Earth together. Second, advance the positive, hopeful global trends that make life better for all. Advance the historic alleviation of poverty in recent decades. And in the future, can you eradicate polio and malaria and other diseases? Can you advance women's rights? Can you advance the power of technology to create a carbon-free world, which we must by 2050? The only way you can change the world for the better is to go into the arena of public service in America and around the world. I know it may be tempting to try to earn your first trillion on Wall Street, but we need GW alumni, GW students, to go into the battle on the front lines of all of these challenges in the public arenas around the world. Theodore Roosevelt spoke to this and said it well and memorably in a historic May 1910 speech at the Sorbonne in Paris. Here's what he said: "The credit belongs to the man or the woman who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who does strive to do the deeds, who spends him or herself in a worthy cause, who, if he or she fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his or her place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat." And so may you leave GW today determined to make a difference in the arena of public life for the public good. Be true to those who taught you your most important lessons, your values, your mother and father, your sister and brother, your grandparents, your aunt and uncle, your friends who are cheering you on today. I have one more request. Please give us hope. And with that in mind, let me leave you with the words, quite memorable, of the late, great Irish poet Seamus Heaney. History says, don't hope on this side of the grave, but then once in a lifetime, the longed-for tidal wave of justice can rise up, and hope and history rhyme. Men and women of the class of 2020, congratulations. Be well, do well. We'll all be watching you as you rewrite the history of our world in the years to come. Thank you so much for listening to me today.
Thank you, Ambassador. Even though your words today come from afar, I know that we will all carry them close to our hearts as we move forward from this momentous occasion. It is now time to individually recognize our graduates. I would like to thank Vice Dean Feldman and Associate Dean Rolberg for reading the names of today's graduates, and I ask that you join us and the entire Elliott School community in congratulating these amazing students.
The following students are candidates for the Master of Arts degree in Asian Studies. Sang Hyun Bak, Ian Shea, The following students are candidates for the Master of Arts degree in European and Eurasian Studies. Trevor Christian Howe, Konstantina Kabitisis, Emily Marie Love, Julia Tursenbeck, The following students are candidates for the Master of Arts degree in Global Communication. Kayla Marie Escobar, Fred Gao, Jolie McSharry, Kristen Mitchell, Shaniqua Nelson, Alina Ruzmatova, Carlos Simón Saavedra, Christine Su, The following students are candidates for the Master of Arts degree in International Affairs. Fata Akwe, Wed Al-Khater, Gabriela Anciola, Caitlin Mackenzie Ard, Oriza Nadifa Unindita Astari, Mahsam Basharat, Louis M. Calvo, John Troback, Kenneth Gerard Chichu, Marissa Nicole Collins, Nicholas John Kudokas, Alejandro Espinosa Pinilla, Yik Fu, Ana Giorgio, Hunter Gilfillian, Harmon Gill, Rebecca Giunazzi. Xaviera Wanjico Gitao. Alejandra Gonzalez Torres. Alicia Renee Gray. Bruce J. Hass. Reem Hamoud. Christopher Joseph Harkins. Salman Hyatt. Rebecca Howe. Maryam Hussein. Kelsey L. Jackson. Kryl Jakimovsky. Genevieve Jesse. Young Hyun Ju. Eileen Cannon Geiser. Shannon Karst. Rodney Francis Casboy. J.T. Cahill. Avery Francis Kennedy. Jonathan Kneller. Brianna Trezak. Yusin Lee. Regina Marie Lakewise. Jack Liu. Alexander Lukács. Judy Lai. Ma Zhaoqing. David Marty. Isabella Mecker. Ari Mitropoulos. Yathida Denise Molina. Jude Manla Hassan. Tashi Namgyal. Sarah Nugent. Mitzlal Okbazgi. Subramanya Vivek Bhargav Oruganti. Lauren Elizabeth Overton. Rachel Pastor. Joshua Patrick. Jens Peterson Giles. Sabrine Rasch. Tegan Reese. Noelle Rodriguez. Sean Mark Savino. Aaron Lee Sawyer. Jacqueline Schultz. Katerina Maria Schultz. Matthew Seifert. Max Alexander Chaffron. Roshni Shah. Peter Shaw. Miranda Sieg. Ilan Simanin. Sherry Singh. Spencer Stuckey. Yaiz Sulu. Ada Tong. Kendra Puyang Khan Tran. Flavia Umulisa. Christopher John Webster. Tyler Garcia Welsh. Alyssa White. Lee Isabel Weinveen. Leo Zhu. The following students are candidates for the Master of Arts degree in International Development Studies. Shireen Al-Shalabi. Kirsten Dawn Caesar. Vali Sinthu Shithumbaram. Lloyd Ramon Kraus. Katie Lenora Ford.
Sarah Greiner.
Sinon Hotik. Emengini Doris Ibekwe. Loretta Obianju Ifediora. Hannah Kroll. Alexandra Maple. Isabella Molitor Silva. Deborah Mungaga. Alexander Nemchenko. Anuha Mirugesh Patel. Fruhar Safa. Allison Simmerly. Joycena Subramaniam. Daniel Sweeney. Hillary Hambrick Taft. Charity Noelani Whitehead.
The following students are candidates for the Master of Arts degree in International Economic Policy. Simon Team Adhanom. Andrea Bolognesi. Georgia T. Butler. Christophe de Montille. Jing Lan. Claudius Javed Maynard. Mikias Tishale Molla. Robert Emmett Scully III. Monica Tham. Emma Alexandra Kelibogil Vareus. Sharon Yen. Yasin Zhang. Kanchel Zorobluhu. The following students are candidates for the Master of Arts degree in International Science and Technology Policy. Rita Dikdan Yazigi. Renata Knittel Kammel. Muhammad T. Kushan. The following students are candidates for the Master of Arts degree in Latin American and Hemispheric Studies. Rachel Livon Baker. Maximiliano Brites. Elliott S. Burgess. Melanie Anastasia Castro. Joshua Day. Christina Elizabeth Manzanares. Michael Podesta. Neil Michael Rose. Nicholas Joseph Sosa. Angela Yarn. The following students are candidates for the Master of Arts degree in Middle East Studies: Brody Isaac Blankenship, Trevor Mace, Michael Melman, Alexander Shanahan, Danny Thompson, The following students are candidates for the Master of Arts degree in Security Policy Studies: Alex Andres Aguilera, Lawrence Arbitman, Jared Elliott Owner, Naina Azimov, Alyssa Ann Bain, Alexandra Bergey, Jeffrey Burnett, Jonathan Coleman, Laylee Tiana Davis, Ryan Dempsey, Jennifer Marie Denardis, Taylor Nicole Dressel, Christopher Easton, John Flanelli, Johanna Christine Frederick, Lincoln Vincent Gimnich, Joshua Glow, Sarah Helen Halligan, Christian Helion, Ryan Patrick Kelleher, Zachary Alexander Cronish, Olivia Arbutus Lanham, Anna Elizabeth Lawless, Marguerite Love, Sarah Lutz, Stephen McRae, Wally James Miller, Jason Nunes, Paige Bebus Patrick, Riley Plan, Jesse Ramsdell, Andrea Ribora, Allison Reed, Francois Reyes, Jada Rivera, Delton Runyon, Jessica Ryan, Matthew Schaefer, Evan Schleicher, Evan Schnoll, Sarah Schramm, Daniel Schaffer, Nicole Ann Sharkey, Jackson Sean Hayes, Kenneth Stasine, or Yorche Taylor, Benjamin Harris Troop, Eleanor Whitchurch, Robert Dean Whitelaw, Elizabeth Wilson, Spencer Wong, Elizabeth Wright, the following students are candidates for the Master of International Policy and Practice. Deanna Correa Guillo, Catherine Alexandra Farley, Yoko Futamoto Hamaguchi, Jordan Mayo, Sandra Perez, Abdullah Say,
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating the Elliott School Class of 2020. And now for the charge to our graduates. Each year, we recognize someone who exemplifies the Elliott School's commitment to excellence in education, scholarship, and service. This recognition is the Harry Harding Teaching Prize, and it is awarded to a member of our faculty who has demonstrated sustained excellence in teaching and who has made extraordinary contributions to the education of Elliott School students. It is my pleasure to introduce the recipient of the 2020 Harry Harding Teaching Prize, Dr. Alexander Downs, who will give this year's charge to our students. Dr. Downs is Associate Professor of Political Science and International Affairs and serves as the director of our Institute for Security and Conflict Studies. He has been recognized on numerous occasions for his contributions to his field and is a true asset to all of us at the Elliott School. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Alexander Downs.
Greetings, Elliott School graduates of the class of 2020. My name is Alex Downs, and I'm deeply honored to be named this year's recipient of the Harry Harding Teaching Award, and especially honored to be able to speak with you on this very special day, even if it's from my house instead of the stage at the Smith Center. I would like to thank Dean Brigady and all my faculty colleagues at the Elliott School for bestowing this award upon me this year. Most of all, though, I would like to thank my students who, over the years, have helped me to become a better teacher. To be honest, as a card-carrying member of the Introverts Club, I never thought I would win a teaching award. It took time for me to find my style in the classroom, but I never stopped trying to improve. And look, here I am. 2020 has been a bit of a crazy year, but it's a big year for you, and it's actually a big year for me too. It's the 25th anniversary of my personal version of The Decision. No, I did not decide to take my talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat on live television. No, I just decided to leave my career as a classical musician and go back to graduate school in a completely different field, political science. There's a good story there, but I'll save it for another day. Of course, there was a tiny flaw in the plan, which was that no self-respecting political science PhD program wanted anything to do with an ex-musician who had taken all of 3 political science classes in his life. But did that deter me? For some reason, no. A year later, I moved to Chicago and started from scratch in a master's program in international relations. 2 years later, I got into a bunch of PhD programs, and I stayed at the University of Chicago because, well, that's where fun goes to die, right? A few years later, I finished my degree and got a job as an assistant professor. Eventually, my path brought me to GW and to the Elliott School, where since 2011, I've had the privilege of teaching wonderful students like you, and now winning this award. You may wonder, why am I telling you all this? The path I took was hard, had a lot of bumps, and I don't necessarily recommend it. But when I think of my version of The Decision, I have no regrets. And I think my story offers a few lessons that I want to share as my charge to you today. First, follow your dreams. Even when doing so seems frightening and difficult and filled with uncertainty. Believe me, I tried to talk myself out of going back to grad school for 6 years for a long time. But for some reason, I knew in my heart of hearts that it was what I wanted to do. Listen to that inner voice. Second, believe in yourself, even when it feels like nobody else does. Only you know what you're capable of. When I arrived at Chicago, I asked a famous professor if I could be his research assistant. He said, "No way." After I took his class, he asked me to be his research assistant. Third, work hard, even when it's exhausting. Go all in pursuit of your goals. I remember plenty of nights splashing cold water on my face at 2 a.m. and then getting up and meeting friends at 7 a.m. in the dead of a Chicago winter to go over notes for class that morning. Sometimes it hurts, but hard work and good work gets rewarded. Fourth, be yourself. There's only one you. Why would you want to be somebody else? When I began to let more of my personality come out in the classroom, it made me a better teacher. Embrace your inner whatever you are. Fifth, finally, once you get there, wherever that is, make a difference for people. When I interact with students, I often think about the mentors who went the extra mile for me. They didn't have to do that. None of us have to do that. But I hope that you will help and inspire others as we have tried to help and inspire you here at the Elliott School. Now, I'll leave you with the words of one of my favorite philosophers, Dr. Seuss. Congratulations, today is your day. You're off to great places, you're off and away. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, you can steer yourself any direction you choose. But out there, things can happen, and frequently do, to people as brainy and footsy as you. And when things start to happen, don't worry, don't stew. Just go right along. You'll start happening too. Oh, the places you'll go. Congratulations, Elliott School graduates of the class of 2020.
Thank you, Dr. Downs. Thank you all for being part of a ceremony like no other. And thank you, students, for being a class like no other. We will end this unconventional celebration with a timeless tradition. Those who can, wherever you are in the world, please stand for our alma mater as you transition from students to alumni of the Elliott School. Raise high, class of 2020.